I just call to
Oh.
say it's top line.
Ooh.
I just call to hotline in your face.
Oh my God, this is the best.
That's it. That's all I got.
That was so good. That was the best one. Oh my God, I love that.
Last week's was good. I really liked
This
Last
it.
week
was
was
really.
pretty good.
I love this. Maybe I just like the
Was last
song.
week's a Madonna? I can't even
No,
remember.
last week was the Beatles.
The
8 days
Beatles,
a
yeah,
week.
the Beatles were good. Yeah, you got to
That
do a
was Stevie
Madonna one
Wonder.
next week. That's what
Yeah, I'll
I'm
do it.
requesting.
What's a
I don't know
good
if Sam's doing requests
top
on this, but
line Vogue? Let your body hotline to the top line. Come on, top line. All right. Anyway,
Okay. Okay. We're gonna jump it. Um, we have a really interesting question from our Slack channel. Second week in a row, the questions are coming from our Slack channel, which everybody should join. And the question is this: Trod episode 57 on a plane ride yesterday, loved it, and lived up to your pre-episode hype. Sam commented on that by saying that you construct your life so that you can do this for a very long time rather than 100 hours a week and burning out. Would you guys mind elaborating on how you do that? I'm transitioning from an employee to a business owner, and I found this to be really hard. Turning it off mentally, not wrapping up my self identity with the business, etc. Any specific advice, maybe the length of the workday, or time away from work, or a mindset you take to the work for a budding entrepreneur? AJ.
well, you just got to go to our Slack. We all three of us answered it, so just go to our Slack channel and we're done. We did this. We did. We're good. We got it. I think all three of us put the very similar answers, but the one that stuck out to us calendar. It was like calendar, calendar, calendar.
Mm.
And that is what I will say is like a, if I bullet point it, it's calendar. I set goals on both a daily and weekly basis and yearly for that matter. One thing that I'll add that I've adjusted that's more recent is I came home one week a couple weeks ago, and my wife, my amazing, awesome wife, had completely redone my office, and having a clean
Mm.
space meant a lot. And then with calendars, making sure I have time to think, they all go a long way. So those are like the four things that I would say from an adjustment
You
standpoint.
know, something interesting about the office point that you made is there was a study done on, so there's a lot of work done on the fact that if you clean up your house, your room, etc., it helps your nervous system a lot. A tidy house, a tidy environment is great for the
Yeah.
nervous system. It actually holds true for your computer as well. So a messy
Hmm.
computer, too many tabs open, too many files everywhere, it looks messy, it looks untidy, has almost the same impact on your nervous system as if your house was a pigsty. And so cleaning up your computer, making sure it feels stylish, you signing on, it's calm, you feel calm and composed as you do it, your desk, your room, your house, all these things really matter. Sam, one of the points in this question that was interesting was this self identity part. And I think about that a lot. How realistic is it for at least an early stage founder to separate their self identity from their business? And is that even good to do?
I'm the wrong person to ask because my identity and my business are completely intertwined.
I'm
I
similar.
don't. I
I
don't
think
think.
they have to be. I can't imagine they're not. Asa, do you have
Isn't
it?
that the whole point? You're
Yeah.
not
That's it.
working a
Yeah.
day job because you want to do your own thing. You want to create something. You want to build something. How on earth could you separate? I don't think the goal is separating your
Yeah.
identity from your work. I think but that doesn't mean conditionally approving of yourself based on the success of your work. The question that I found to be the most helpful question that somebody asked me when I'm thinking about these things is, what brings you joy? That's a question
Mm,
that I think we need to do more asking of ourselves, and that is the guide. That's the compass.
yeah.
That's the map. That's it. Doesn't mean you don't always get to do things that bring you joy, especially if you're super early, and if you don't like bookkeeping and you don't like collections and you don't like any of that stuff, then yeah, it's going to be a real drag when you're at a super early stage. But I think the North Star, the path through the woods and the path through the mountain pass is guided by what brings you joy. And that should be where you're working towards. And when you have a little bit of scale like the three of us do, then you can really start to organize your day around the things that bring you joy. And then just feel confident that you can make those calls. And AJ says, I'm going to go for a run and do a cold plunge in the middle of the day, and that's okay. And I can say, I'm going to block this time for content creation, and I'm not going to have calls before this time. And, right now, as I said, I think last week, I'm in the process of, instead of saying yes every time somebody wants a call, I've dramatically reduced the availability that Calendly has to my calendar. And oftentimes somebody says, can we hop on a call? And I'm saying, well, why don't you write up what you're trying to get at, and maybe we can correspond that way, as opposed to just giving my time so abundantly and so freely. So for me, the answer to your question, Asid, is no. You're not going to be able to extract. There was another question somebody had about, am I insane, or, how do I preserve my sanity while I'm starting a company? And it's like, well, starting a company is an inherently irrational thing. So I don't know that the goal should be to preserve your sanity, but the path, the North Star should be what brings you joy, and try to orient yourself around those activities.
I love that. I think that's such a good compass, because if you're a person that has decided that I'm going to find joy from building and running a business, I think it is going to consume you. And that's actually a feature, not a bug. You want to, there's nothing you're going to do more than work in your life, right? Like, we figured out that this 5 days a week, 40 hours a week is still probably the most time you spend doing any one thing. I don't think anyone spends as much time with their family as they do working. And so if it's the thing that's going to take up so much of your time, you want it to be something that you really enjoy doing, and whatever you enjoy doing consumes you. If you really like a particular sport when you were young, you think about that sport in bed. And so this is similar. This is a feature, not a bug. But you have to learn how to manage your nervous system. For me, the biggest unlock, like if I try to distill it down to what is that essential truth here, is once I learned the functionality of the nervous system and how to manage it, I think I was better equipped to run the marathon, because I would burn out. I would just run at a pace that wasn't sustainable and find myself maybe not burnt out, but extremely tired. And then I have to claw my way back. And now I'm a lot more conscientious about where I'm at. And I have tools that I can use to give myself some energy again. And so that understanding your nervous system, understanding what energizes you, being able to look in and say, where am I right now? Am I feeling, how tired am I feeling? And how do I reset this, is, I think, an important conversation to be able to have with yourself. On that note, though, AJ, so there are going to be moments, last year is a good example, you're running uphill, winds in your face, and you're going to get really exhausted. You're going to do that 80 hours in the week. There were days when I spoke to you where you were working till 2, 3 a.m., right? And waking up again at 5 or 6 a.m. and going at it again. At the end of a week or 2 weeks like that, you get really tired and you have to quickly reset. You can't go off to the beach. How do you quickly reset?
I didn't go off to the beach. Oh my goodness. I think the running uphill, I think in a lot of ways, all three of us are still running uphill and still working. It's just the optimization, and it's a state change. I know it's easier said than done, but something that I learned at a Tony Robbins conference 13 years ago is, which is Unleash the Power Within, UPW, was this change in state. And how do you snap your fingers? You're a top athlete, you're a top CEO. We all go through these moments where we have to have this shift in our mindset. Now, the three of us have taken I think, whether it's executive coaches or optimization or ultimately confidence, which has changed it. It's taken a little bit of time to do it. So we have to invest in ourselves. But I think there are definitely times where we have to go through a quick shift change. And that could be something just smiling, starting your day with a positive affirmation, thinking about things a little bit differently, but allowing yourself not to say, I have to go to 3 a.m. I never went to 3 a.m. by the way. Thank you for that.
I remember that.
I went to midnight. You have diminishing returns after 11 p.m. I can't literally think after the 11 p.m. So all of that is just to say, I don't have the silver bullet. I'm still learning myself, but I still think I just have to remind myself that like, hey, you're not going to have the best days, but you know what? You don't have to have bad weeks or bad months or bad years. You can, it's okay to have not a great day, but knowing that the next day there's a total shift and you can optimize and change and write down the day that you want to see it. And if you're canceling, if you're doing an email, like Sam said, doing it over email, or you're looking at your calendar, you're like, this meeting is just not going to energize me. What are you doing? Do you need to do it?
Sam, on that point, how important is the executive coach in all of this, right? Like you've had quite a transformative experience working with one. I've had a lot of a similar experience working with yours. How important is that? And then what does a really early stage founder do who can't afford it? Because it's expensive, right? Like these guys, they're not cheap. And so if you're really early stage, you can't afford this type of a coach. What do you do then?
First, I don't think it's specific to a coach. I think it's specific to a support system that you can design. And there are a number of tools at your disposal. That's one thing. The second thing is somebody that I basically my wife who I'm sadly parting ways with, but who I still love. But she always used to say, what does that mean you can't afford it? I know that the money's in your bank account. And I think that, I guess I would just bring that up, Asid, because I think a lot of people say I can't afford something, and I don't, and that's not, and they can. I guess that's what I would say. They can.
Yeah.
They can. And they can afford to go see a doctor when their leg is broken, and they can afford to see some kind of mental health specialist or support system if they need to, and they need to think about more things as investments. And that's what Pavilion is for. It doesn't have to be a coach. It could be a community of peers. It could be fellow founders or CEOs. It doesn't have to be through Pavilion, but Pavilion, what are the resources? What's my support system? My support system is I have a coach, I have a therapist. I journal, and
you
write
have
my...
a coach and a therapist.
Yeah, I do. I got a therapist this year, and it's helped tremendously. And we practice IFS, internal family systems, which is a way of attaching personalities to different attributes of your whole personality and then understanding them more deeply. So I have a coach, a therapist. I have my CEO support group. I have this podcast. I have Pavilion itself. I have my network of 20 to 30 best friends that I've had, over the last 25 years since I graduated from college. I have my family. I have exercise. I have good sleep. I'm back in a reading groove. And, I have the novels that I read and the books that I read. And all of those are mechanisms to provide stability, to calm my nervous system. I have green apples. I have long walks. I have, making love, all of that stuff.
Oh, sorry. I mean, what do green apples have to do with it? Am I missing that? What's green apples?
These are things that bring me joy.
Yeah,
these are things that...
Is it Granny Smith? Granny Smith?
Yeah, Granny Smith. But my point is, like, there's a lot of things that you can do, and coaching is one of them. Joining Pavilion's another one. But whatever it is, what it really is being, like I said, it comes down to your calendar. It's about intentionally embedding activities that support you and bring you joy, and making sure that you box out other intrusions into your daily life so that you have the time to do those things. And people can say, I cannot afford to do those things, and I would call BS. I think there's very few things I cannot afford. I cannot afford to charter 5 yachts right now. That's true. I cannot afford. I do not have the money for that. Can I afford a therapist? I can afford a therapist. Can I afford to go out to dinner every night and eat steak and lobster and have a Chateau Neuf de Pape 1958? No, I cannot afford that. But most things that people say they can afford, they're just saying, I don't want to prioritize that in my life. Well, that's up to them.
Yeah. That was really well said. I don't think I can better that. I think it's just, I want to underscore that point that if you reframe it into your mind as the things you have to do to enable you to be able to run this marathon that you're on, and you look at let's look at athletes, the very best in the world. They do all these things, and that's how they perform at that level. This is a necessity if you want to be great at building a company. It's not a luxury.
And the other final point on the calendar piece of it, because we started the calendar kind of ending with it, optimizing that calendar allows you to be present. I think that that's one thing I found, these conversations, we're all engaged. Of course we're engaged, we're leaning in, but if you can optimize it, what I've found is it allows me to be present in all of the other conversations. I don't feel like I have to get distracted or that emails or Slacks or whatever. And that is, I think has been freeing. That's a very freeing thing as well.
I have a Tony Robbins quote to end it with. Movement is not achievement. Achievement is achievement. So just because you're busy and you're doing a lot of things doesn't mean you're moving the needle.
I love that. And with that, thank you for listening to Topline Hotline. Come to the CRO Summit, June 6th in Boston, Mass. Give us 5 stars on the iTunes Store. Join our free Slack channel. Buy our new T-shirts, which we have not made. That's not really a thing, but we will make T-shirts, and you can buy them at some point soon. And with that, thank you, everybody. God bless you.
Everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.